The mysterious barrier. The day the sky changed color, Dr. Ilara Chen was hunched over her quantum computer, oblivious to the world outside her lab at the Lunar Observatory. It wasn't until her colleague, Dr. Marcus Adebayo, burst through the door, his dark face ashen with shock, that she realized something extraordinary had happened. "Ilara, you need to see this," Marcus gasped, grabbing her arm and pulling her towards the observation deck. As they stepped onto the deck, Ilara's breath caught in her throat. Earth, their beautiful blue marble, was encased in a shimmering, translucent sphere of energy. The barrier pulsed with an otherworldly light, casting a pale green glow across the lunar surface. "What in the name of science is that?" Ilara whispered, her mind racing to comprehend what she was seeing. Marcus shook his head, his voice trembling. "We don't know. It just appeared about an hour ago. Every instrument on the moon and in orbit is going haywire. We can't penetrate it with any form of radiation or signal." As the two scientists stared in awe at the phenomenon, alarms began blaring throughout the facility. Ilara's comm unit chirped urgently, and she answered to find the grim face of Admiral Zhao, head of the United Earth Space Force. "Dr. Chen, Dr. Adebayo, I need you both in the war room immediately. We're facing a global crisis." Within minutes, Ilara and Marcus found themselves in a secure video conference with leaders from every nation on Earth and the colonies. Faces etched with worry and fear filled the screens as reports flooded in from around the globe. President Amelia Rodriguez of the United Earth government took center stage, her usually composed demeanor visibly shaken. "Ladies and gentlemen, as you're all aware, an unknown energy barrier has manifested around our planet. All attempts at communication with the surface have failed. We are, for all intents and purposes, cut off from Earth." The conference erupted into chaos as leaders demanded answers, blamed each other, and proposed increasingly desperate solutions. Ilara watched in dismay as humanity's finest minds succumbed to panic. Suddenly, a new voice cut through the din. "Perhaps I can shed some light on the situation." All eyes turned to a screen that had been dark moments before. Now it showed a being that was clearly not human. Its skin was a pale lavender, with large, almond-shaped eyes that seemed to shimmer with an inner light. Delicate, fin-like structures adorned its head where hair would be on a human. "Greetings, people of Earth and her colonies. I am Zorak, representative of the Galactic Council. We apologize for the abrupt nature of our actions, but we assure you it was necessary." The room fell into a stunned silence. President Rodriguez was the first to find her voice. "What is the meaning of this? Why have you isolated our homeworld?" Zorak's expression was difficult to read, but their tone was gentle, almost apologetic. "Your Earth has been placed under quarantine for the safety of the galaxy and yourselves. We have been observing your kind for centuries, and recent developments have forced us to take action." Admiral Zhao leaned forward, his eyes narrowing. "What developments?" "We demand an explanation." "Of course," Zorak nodded. "To put it simply, your species is evolving at an unprecedented rate. The potential within your genetic code is alarming to many in the galactic community." Ilara's scientific curiosity overcame her shock. "Evolving? How?" "We've detected no significant changes in human physiology or capabilities." Zorak's gaze seemed to focus on Ilara, and she felt as if those alien eyes were peering into her very soul. "The changes are subtle, Dr. Chen, but profound. Your brains are rewiring themselves, unlocking abilities that most species take millions of years to develop. Telepathy, telekinesis, manipulation of matter at the quantum level. These are just the beginning of what humans might become capable of." The room erupted once again, this time with a mix of disbelief, excitement, and fear. President Rodriguez raised her hands, calling for order. "And this quarantine, what exactly does it entail?" "The barrier around Earth will remain in place indefinitely," Zorak explained. "It will allow nothing in or out. No matter, no energy, no signals. The colonies will be permitted to continue their existence, but any attempt to return to Earth or break the quarantine will be met with severe consequences. Marcus stood up, his voice shaking with anger. You can't do this. Earth is our home, our birthplace. You have no right to cut us off from it. Zarok's expression softened, if that was possible for their alien features. We understand your distress, but please believe that this is for the greater good. Humanity's potential is simply too great, too unpredictable. Until you learn to control these emerging abilities, until we can be certain you won't pose a threat to yourselves or others, this is the safest course of action. As the implications of Zarok's words sank in, a heavy silence fell over the assembly. Millions of humans were now trapped on Earth, cut off from their cosmic kin. And those in the colonies and off-world facilities faced an uncertain future, exiled from their ancestral home. Ilara's mind raced with questions. How had humanity begun this evolutionary leap? What were they truly capable of? And most importantly, how could they prove to the Galactic Council that they deserved to be free? President Rodriguez squared her shoulders, her voice firm as she addressed Zarok. We appreciate your concern for galactic safety. But make no mistake, we will not simply accept this situation. Humanity has faced countless challenges throughout our history, and we've always emerged stronger. We will find a way to prove ourselves worthy of our place among the stars. Zarok inclined their head in what might have been respect. We expected no less from your kind. You will have opportunities to plead your case before the Council. But know this, the road ahead will not be easy. You will face trials and tribulations that will test the very essence of what it means to be human. With that ominous warning, Zarok's image flickered and disappeared, leaving the leaders of humanity to grapple with their new reality. As the conference devolved into arguments and frantic planning, Ilara turned to Marcus, her eyes blazing with determination. We need to get back to the lab. If what Zarok said is true, if humans are truly evolving, we need to understand how and why. It might be our only chance to save Earth and secure our future among the stars. Marcus nodded, a grim smile on his face. I'm with you. Let's show these aliens what humanity is really capable of. As they rushed back to their laboratory, Ilara couldn't shake the feeling that this was just the beginning of humanity's greatest adventure. The stars had once seemed so distant, so unreachable. Now, they represented not just humanity's future, but the key to unlocking their true potential. The barrier around Earth glimmered in the darkness of space, a challenge and a promise. Humanity had been contained, but their spirit remained unbroken. The quest to reclaim their homeworld and prove their worth to the galaxy had begun. The Galactic Council's decree. 6 months after the appearance of the barrier around Earth, humanity's off-world colonies were still reeling from the shock. The initial panic had given way to a grim determination as people adjusted to their new reality. On the lunar base, Dr. Ilara Chen and Dr. Marcus Adebayo worked tirelessly, pushing the boundaries of science in their quest to understand humanity's supposed evolution. One quiet afternoon, as Ilara pored over the latest data from their experiments, an alert chimed on her computer. She frowned, opening the message. Her eyes widened as she read its contents. Marcus. She called out, her voice echoing through the lab. You need to see this. Her colleague hurried over, leaning in to read over her shoulder. The message was brief but momentous. To all human settlements, the Galactic Council has agreed to a formal hearing regarding Earth's quarantine. Representatives are required to appear before the Council in 3 standard galactic cycles. Coordinates for the meeting location will follow. Prepare your case wisely. Marcus let out a low whistle. Well, I'll be damned. They're actually giving us a chance. Ilara nodded, her mind already racing with possibilities. We need to inform the President and Admiral Zhao immediately. This could be our only shot at lifting the quarantine. Within hours, an emergency conference was convened. Leaders from every human colony and outpost gathered virtually, their faces a mix of hope and apprehension. President Rodriguez addressed the assembly, her voice steady despite the weight of the moment. We've all read the summons. This is the opportunity we've been waiting for. But make no mistake, the challenge ahead is monumental. We need our best and brightest to represent humanity before this Galactic Council. Admiral Zhao spoke up, his weathered face creased with concern. Madam President, with all due respect, we know next to nothing about this council or the other species we'll be facing. How can we prepare for such an encounter? A new voice joined the conversation. Dr. Yuki Tanaka, head of Sinoanthropology at the Mars University. If I may, I believe I can offer some insight. My team has been analyzing every scrap of information we have on our encounter with Zorak and the barrier technology. We've developed some theories about the Galactic Council and its members. All eyes turned to Dr. Tanaka as she continued. Based on the level of technology we've seen and the Council's concern about our potential, we're likely dealing with a collective of highly advanced species. They probably value stability and predictability, which explains their fear of our rapid evolution. Ilara leaned forward, intrigued. That tracks with our findings. The changes we're detecting in human neural patterns are unlike anything in our evolutionary history. It's as if we're suddenly developing new cognitive pathways, unlocking latent abilities that were always there, just waiting to be activated. President Rodriguez nodded thoughtfully. So we need to convince them that we're not a threat, despite our potential. Any suggestions on how we do that? Marcus cleared his throat. What if we demonstrate our potential for good? Show them how these emerging abilities could benefit not just humanity, but the entire galactic community. A murmur of agreement rippled through the conference. Admiral Zhao, however, looked skeptical. That's all well and good, but what if they don't believe us? What if they see any display of these abilities as a threat? The room fell silent as the weight of the Admiral's words sank in. Then a new voice spoke up, one that hadn't been heard in such gatherings before. Perhaps, said a quiet but firm voice, we need to show them who we truly are, beyond any special abilities. The speaker was Aria Foster, a young diplomat from the Europa underwater colony. Her presence in the high-level meeting was unusual, but her reputation as a brilliant negotiator had been growing. Aria continued, her eyes bright with conviction. The core of humanity isn't our potential for power, but our capacity for empathy, our drive to explore and understand, our ability to unite in the face of adversity. These are the qualities that have brought us to the stars. These are what make us human. President Rodriguez smiled, a glimmer of hope in her eyes. Well said, Ms. Foster. I think we found another member of our delegation to the Council. As the meeting continued, plans were made and a team was assembled. Dr. Chen and Dr. Adebayo would present the scientific evidence of humanity's evolution. Admiral Zhao would address security concerns and showcase humanity's peaceful intentions. Dr. Tanaka would provide cultural insight and facilitate communication with alien species, and Aria Foster would be their voice, tasked with conveying the essence of humanity to the Council. In the weeks that followed, preparation for the Council meeting consumed every human settlement. Scientists compiled data, diplomats practiced first contact scenarios, and engineers worked around the clock to prepare a ship worthy of representing humanity. Finally, the day of departure arrived. On a newly constructed launch pad on the far side of the moon, the sleek spacecraft Odyssey stood ready. Its hull gleamed in the starlight, emblazoned with the united flag of Earth and all her colonies. As the delegation boarded, a tense silence fell over the gathered crowd. The fate of humanity, the future of Earth itself, rested on the shoulders of these few individuals. President Rodriguez addressed the delegation one last time before they boarded. You carry with you the hopes and dreams of every human being, both those here in the colonies and those trapped behind the barrier on Earth. Remember who you are, where you come from. Show the Council the best of humanity. As the Odyssey lifted off, soaring into the star-studded blackness of space, Ilara felt a mixture of excitement and trepidation. They were embarking on the most important journey in human history, venturing into the unknown to face a civilization far more advanced than their own. The coordinates provided by the Council led them to a remote star system, far from any charted human territory. As they approached, they were awestruck by the sight that greeted them. A massive space station hung in orbit around a gas giant, its design unlike anything humans had ever constructed. It was an intricate web of interconnected structures, shimmering with an inner light that seemed to defy the darkness of space. A transmission crackled through their communication system. "Human delegation, you are cleared for docking. Proceed to Bay 17 Alpha. The Council awaits." As the Odyssey maneuvered towards its designated dock, the reality of their situation truly hit home. They were about to stand before a gathering of advanced alien species and plead the case for all of humanity. Aria Foster stood at the viewport, her eyes reflecting the alien starscape before them. She turned to her fellow delegates, her voice soft but filled with determination. "Whatever happens in there, whatever we face, remember this. We are the children of Earth, the heirs of a legacy that stretches back millions of years. We've faced extinction. We've overcome our own worst natures. We've reached for the stars. We are humanity. And we are not done yet." With a soft shudder, the Odyssey docked with a massive alien station. The airlock cycled, and for the first time, humans set foot in the heart of galactic civilization. The Galactic Council chamber was a vast amphitheater, filled with beings of every conceivable shape and form. Some were vaguely humanoid, others defied easy description. The air was thick with a cacophony of languages, all seamlessly translated by advanced technology. At the center of it all stood a raised dais, upon which sat the High Counselors, the leaders of the most powerful and ancient species in the galaxy. Their eyes, some multifaceted, some singular, all inscrutable, turned as one to regard the human delegation. A hush fell over the chamber as Zorak, the alien who had first contacted humanity, stepped forward to make the introductions. "Esteemed counselors, honored representatives of the galactic community, I present to you the delegation from Earth." As the human team stepped forward, ready to make their case, they knew that the future of their entire species hung in the balance. The greatest challenge in human history was about to begin. The secret of human potential. As the human delegation stood before the Galactic Council, the chamber hummed with an almost palpable tension. Thousands of alien eyes focused on the small group of Earthlings, a mix of curiosity, suspicion, and in some cases, outright hostility evident in their gazes. Zorak, acting as a mediator, gestured for the humans to begin their presentation. Dr. Ilara Chen stepped forward, her heart pounding but her voice steady as she addressed the assembly. "Esteemed members of the Galactic Council, we come before you not as a threat, but as seekers of understanding and cooperation. The quarantine placed on our homeworld has caused immense distress to our people, and we ask that you hear our case with open minds." As Ilara spoke, holographic displays sprang to life around the chamber, showing data from their research on human neural evolution. "Our studies have indeed confirmed unusual changes in human cognitive function. However, we believe these changes represent not a danger, but an opportunity for growth and mutual benefit." Murmurs rippled through the alien audience. A tall, spindly being with iridescent skin rose from the High Council seats. "And how can you be certain these abilities won't lead your species to aggression? History is littered with examples of lesser races destroying themselves upon discovering new power." Admiral Zhao stepped forward, his military bearing a stark contrast to Ilara's scientific demeanor. "With respect, Counselor, humanity has faced its own destructive tendencies and emerged stronger for it. We've united our world, reached for the stars, and done so while striving for peace." The debate continued for hours, with the human delegation fielding questions and challenges from all corners of the galactic community. Dr. Tanaka's insights into alien cultures proved invaluable, allowing the team to navigate the complex web of interspecies politics. As the session neared its end, Aria Foster took center stage. The young diplomat's presence seemed to captivate the alien audience as she spoke passionately about humanity's potential for good. We stand before you not as conquerors or threats, but as fellow seekers of knowledge and understanding. The abilities we're developing could revolutionize medicine, unlock the secrets of the universe, and help forge stronger bonds between all sentient beings. Her words seemed to resonate with many in the chamber, but the High Council remained impassive. After a brief deliberation, Zarek addressed the human delegation. Your arguments are compelling, but words alone are not enough. The Council requires proof of humanity's control over these emerging abilities. You have one galactic standard cycle to provide evidence that these powers can be safely wielded. Until then, the quarantine remains in effect. As the human team left the Council chamber, a mix of hope and frustration filled their hearts. They had been given a chance, but the challenge ahead seemed nearly impossible. Back on the Odyssey, the delegation debated their next move. We need access to Earth, Ilara insisted. All our most promising subjects are trapped behind that barrier. Without them, we can't demonstrate the full extent of human potential. Admiral Zhao shook his head. The Council made it clear, any attempt to breach the quarantine would be seen as an act of aggression. Arya, who had been quietly contemplating, suddenly spoke up. What if we don't need to breach it? What if we could find a way to observe what's happening on Earth without actually going there? The team looked at her in surprise. Marcus was the first to catch on. The quantum entanglement communicator. We were working on it just before the quarantine. If it survived, and if someone on Earth activated it, Ilara's eyes lit up. We could establish a link. It wouldn't violate the terms of the quarantine because no matter or energy would actually be passing through the barrier. Admiral Zhao frowned. It's a long shot. We don't even know if the device is still operational, let alone if anyone on Earth knows how to use it. It's the best chance we've got, Arya argued. We need to try. After much debate, a plan was formed. The Odyssey would return to the edge of Earth's solar system, as close to the quarantine barrier as they dared. There, they would attempt to activate the quantum link. Days passed as the ship journeyed back to their home system. The mood on board was tense, each person acutely aware of the weight of their mission. Finally, they arrived at the designated coordinates. Ilara and Marcus worked feverishly to calibrate the quantum communicator. The device hummed to life, its intricate array of crystals and circuitry glowing with an otherworldly light. Ready, Ilara announced, her finger hovering over the activation switch. Here goes nothing. She pressed the button. For a moment, nothing happened. Then, with a surge of energy, a holographic display flickered to life above the communicator. The image was fuzzy, distorted, but unmistakably showed a laboratory on Earth. A face appeared in the projection. Dr. Samantha Wells, one of Ilara's former colleagues. Her eyes widened in shock as she recognized the team. Ilara, Marcus, is that really you? Tears of joy and relief flowed freely as the two groups exchanged hurried explanations. Dr. Wells and her team had been working tirelessly to understand the changes happening to humanity, cut off from their off-world colleagues. You won't believe what we've discovered, Samantha said, her voice brimming with excitement. The barrier, it's not just containing us. It's accelerating the changes. People all over the world are developing abilities we thought were impossible. She went on to describe incredible feats, people moving objects with their minds, communicating telepathically, even manipulating the very fabric of reality on a quantum level. But most importantly, they were learning to control these powers, to use them responsibly. As the Earth team shared their data and demonstrations, the delegation realized they had stumbled upon exactly what they needed to convince the Council. This was proof that humanity could handle its growing abilities with wisdom and restraint. But their elation was short-lived. Alarms blared throughout the Odyssey, and Admiral Zhao's voice came over the intercom. We've got company. Multiple alien ships on an intercept course. They don't look friendly. The quantum link dissolved as the ship rocked from weapons fire. Through the viewport, the team saw a squadron of sleek, predatory vessels bearing down on them. "It's the Cracks," Dr. Tanaka said, her face pale. "They're an aggressive species known for their opposition to emerging races. They must have followed us from the council meeting." Admiral Zhao's voice was grim as he announced, "They're charging weapons. All hands, brace for impact." As the alien ships closed in, the human delegation faced a terrible choice: flee and abandon their mission, or stand their ground and risk everything on the slim hope of proving humanity's worth to the galaxy. In that moment of crisis, with the fate of their entire species hanging in the balance, the true test of humanity's potential was about to begin. Humanity's stand. The Odyssey shuddered under the barrage of Cracks' weapons fire. Alarms blared throughout the ship as the crew scrambled to battle stations. Admiral Zhao's voice crackled over the intercom, tense but controlled. "Evasive maneuvers. Divert all non-essential power to shields." As the ship ducked and weaved through space, narrowly avoiding the worst of the Cracks' assault, the delegation huddled in the command center. Dr. Tanaka's fingers flew over the communications console, broadcasting an emergency distress signal to the Galactic Council. "It's no use," she said, frustration evident in her voice. "The Cracks are jamming our long-range communications. We're on our own." Ilara stared at the tactical display, watching as the enemy ships tightened their formation around the Odyssey. "We can't outrun them, and we can't fight them. There has to be another way." Suddenly, Aria's eyes widened. "The quantum link. If we can re-establish connection with Earth, maybe they can help us." Marcus shook his head. "The communicator was damaged in the initial attack. It'll take time to repair, time we don't have." As if to emphasize his point, another blast rocked the ship. Admiral Zhao's grim voice came through once more. "Hull breach on Deck C. Containment field holding. But we can't take much more of this." In that moment of desperation, something extraordinary happened. Ilara felt a strange sensation, like a door opening in her mind. Suddenly, she could sense the thoughts and emotions of everyone around her. More than that, she could feel the very fabric of space-time, the quantum threads that held reality together. I think I can do it," she whispered, her voice filled with wonder and fear. Before anyone could question her, Ilara closed her eyes and concentrated. The air around her began to shimmer, and a holographic display flickered to life. The quantum link, re-established through sheer force of will. Dr. Wells' face appeared, concern etched on her features. "Ilara, what's happening? We lost contact, and no time to explain." Ilara cut in, her voice strained with effort. "We're under attack. Earth's abilities. We need them now." Understanding dawned in Samantha's eyes. She turned and shouted orders to someone off-screen. Moments later, the holographic display expanded, showing a vast chamber filled with people, each with an intense look of concentration on their face. "Ready when you are, Ilara," Samantha said. "Just tell us what you need." Ilara took a deep breath, reaching out with her newfound abilities to connect the minds on the Odyssey with those on Earth. In an instant, a psychic bridge formed across the vast distance of space, bypassing the quarantine barrier through the quantum realm. The effect was immediate and awe-inspiring. The Odyssey's crew found their minds flooded with knowledge and power. Engineers instinctively knew how to boost the ship's systems beyond their designed limits. Navigators could predict the Cracks' ship's movements before they happened. And in the command center, Aria Foster felt a surge of diplomatic insight, a deep understanding of the Cracks' psyche that transcended mere knowledge. "Open a channel to the Cracks' fleet," she commanded, her voice resonating with newfound authority. As the comlink established, Aria began to speak. Her words, infused with the combined empathic power of millions of humans on Earth, reached out to touch the very souls of the Cracks warriors. "People of Cracks," she began, her voice echoing across space, "we understand your fear. We know the pain of being seen as lesser, of fighting to prove your worth. But this path leads only to more suffering." On the tactical display, The delegation watched in amazement as the crack ships began to slow their assault. Arya continued, her words painting a vision of a future where humans and cracks could stand together as allies. Imagine what we could accomplish together, how we could change the very face of the galaxy for the better. One by one, the crack ships powered down their weapons. The largest vessel, presumably the flagship, opened a return channel. How? How are you doing this? The crack's commander's voice was a mix of awe and lingering suspicion. These feelings, these visions, they're unlike anything we've experienced. Admiral Zhao stepped forward, adding his voice to Arya's. This is the true power of humanity. Not destruction, but understanding. Not conquest, but cooperation. As the standoff de-escalated, a new signal cut through the comm channels. The unmistakable voice of Zarak, representative of the Galactic Council, filled the air. Attention human vessel and Crack's fleet. We have been monitoring the situation. Your actions today have given us much to consider. A massive portal opened in space, and through it emerged an entire armada of Council ships. The Crack's vessels quickly backed away, their earlier aggression replaced by deference to the Council's authority. Zarak's ship approached the Odyssey, and the alien's image appeared on the main view screen. Humans of Earth, you have demonstrated an ability we thought impossible. To bridge the quarantine through sheer force of will, and to turn an enemy into a potential friend in the space of moments. The Council requests your immediate return. There is much to discuss. As the Council ships escorted the Odyssey and the now docile Crack's fleet back to the galactic capital, the human delegation felt a mix of exhaustion and exhilaration. They had faced impossible odds and emerged victorious, not through force of arms, but through the very abilities the Council had feared. Ilara, her mind still reeling from the experience, turned to her colleagues. Do you think they'll lift the quarantine now? Arya smiled, a glimmer of hope in her eyes. I think we've given them something they've never seen before. Whether they lift the quarantine or not, one thing's for certain. The galaxy will never be the same. As the Odyssey glided into the Council station's docking bay, the team knew that the real challenge was just beginning. They had proven humanity's potential. Now they had to convince the galaxy that humanity was ready to take its place among the stars. The fate of Earth and all her children hung in the balance, as the greatest diplomatic challenge in human history awaited them beyond those docking bay doors. A new era for humanity. The Grand Council chamber was packed to capacity, with representatives from every corner of the galaxy in attendance. The air buzzed with anticipation as the human delegation took their place at the center of the vast amphitheater. High Counselor Xanthor, an ancient being of swirling energy, contained within a crystalline form, addressed the assembly. We have convened this extraordinary session to address the recent events involving the humans of Earth. Their actions have challenged our preconceptions. Zarak stepped forward, their voice carrying across the chamber. Esteemed colleagues, we have witnessed abilities that defy our understanding of physics and biology. The humans have demonstrated power that rivals or exceeds that of even the eldest races among us. A ripple of murmurs swept through the crowd. Xanthor's crystalline form pulsed with inner light as they spoke again. We must decide whether to maintain the quarantine on Earth or to welcome humanity into the galactic community. The consequences of either choice will reshape the future of our civilization. Arya Foster, still emanating an aura of calm authority from her enhanced abilities, addressed the Council. Honored members of the galactic community, we stand before you not as conquerors or threats, but as partners in the great journey of cosmic exploration and understanding. She gestured to her colleagues, each of whom stepped forward to demonstrate the incredible abilities they had manifested. Ilara manipulated quantum fields, creating miniature galaxies in the palm of her hand. Marcus tapped into the ship's systems with his mind, displaying complex data streams in the air around him. Admiral Zhao projected a field of pure defensive energy, impenetrable yet harmless. These powers, Arya continued, are not weapons to be feared. but tools to be used for the betterment of all sentient life. Already, we've made breakthroughs in medicine, energy production, and faster-than-light travel that could benefit every world represented here. The Crack's commander, invited to the session as a witness, spoke up. It's true. In just a brief mental contact with the humans, my people gained insights that have already led to significant advancements in our technology and culture. They turned us from enemies to allies in moments. Debate raged for hours. Some council members argued for maintaining the quarantine, fearing the rapid advancement of human abilities. Others saw the potential benefits of embracing humanity as equals. As the discussion seemed to reach an impasse, Dr. Samantha Wells' voice suddenly filled the chamber, projected through the quantum link that Ilara maintained. Counselors, if I may, I'd like to offer a perspective from Earth itself. All eyes turned to the holographic display showing the scientist. The quarantine has not stopped our evolution. If anything, it has accelerated it. But it has also taught us a valuable lesson in responsibility. We've had to learn to control these new abilities, to use them wisely and ethically. We're ready to join the galactic community not as subordinates or overlords, but as partners. Her words seemed to resonate with many in the chamber. Xanthor's form pulsed thoughtfully before addressing the humans. Your power is undeniable, as is your potential for both great good and great harm. What assurance can you offer that you will not abuse these abilities? Arya stepped forward once more. We propose a compromise. Lift the quarantine, but establish a joint Human Council Oversight Committee. This group would monitor our development, ensure ethical use of our abilities, and facilitate the sharing of knowledge and technology with the galactic community. The suggestion sparked intense discussion among the council members. After what seemed like an eternity, Xanthor raised a crystalline appendage for silence. We have reached a decision, the High Counselor announced. The quarantine on Earth will be lifted under the conditions proposed by the human delegation. Furthermore, we extend an invitation to humanity to join the Galactic Council as probationary members. A cheer erupted from the Earth side of the quantum link, echoed by many in the council chamber. Arya and her team embraced, tears of joy and relief flowing freely. As the formal proceedings concluded, representatives from various alien races approached the human delegation, eager to establish diplomatic relations and exchange knowledge. In the days that followed, ships from Earth ventured out into the galaxy for the first time, carrying scientists, diplomats, and explorers eager to embrace their new reality. The barrier around Earth dissolved, allowing reunions between those who had been separated for so long. Humanity's integration into the galactic community brought challenges as well as triumphs. There were cultural misunderstandings to navigate, technological hurdles to overcome, and lingering fears to assuage. But with each passing cycle, the bonds between Earth and its cosmic neighbors grew stronger. 5 years after the lifting of the quarantine, Arya Foster stood on the observation deck of Unity Station, a massive space habitat jointly constructed by humans and a dozen alien races in orbit around Earth. Below, the planet shimmered with the light of a civilization transformed, its cities now marvels of human and alien engineering working in harmony. Ilara joined her, a holographic display of complex equations floating around her head. "Can you believe how far we've come?" she asked, her eyes reflecting the starlight. Arya smiled, her gaze traveling to the stars beyond. "We've only just begun, Ilara. The greatest adventure in human history is still unfolding." As if to emphasize her point, a sleek ship of human and alien design emerged from a swirling portal nearby. Its mission: to explore a distant galaxy, crewed by a diverse team of sentient beings from across the known universe. Humanity had faced its greatest challenge and emerged not just victorious, but transformed. The quarantine that was meant to contain them had instead catalyzed their evolution, turning them into a force for positive change in the galaxy. As Arya watched the explorer ship vanish into the depths of space, she felt a profound sense of hope. The future was uncertain, filled with wonders and dangers beyond imagination. but humanity would face it as they always had, with courage, curiosity, and an unwavering belief in their potential to shape a better tomorrow. The stars, once distant and unreachable, now beckoned, and humanity, hand in hand with their new galactic family, was ready to answer the call.